Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Chatterhouse. It's Tuesday night. Well, I hope it's Tuesday night because we're going to tell you something. I don't know what day of the week it is. See all this bank holiday and all yesterday. I haven't a clue. I see everybody starting to come in over on Facebook, and there's someone watching over there on YouTube as well. Just before we start today, folks, if you can, as just usual, there is a little bit of a delay on Facebook, but I want you to confirm. If somebody could just confirm that you can hear me, okay, it would be greatly appreciated, because I like to check that everything's working. Well, listen, welcome to Tuesday night. First of all, I do apologise that our virtual coach trip, was cancelled last week. But I'm going to be quite honest with you, folks. I couldn't lift my head. I really, really couldn't lift my head because nobody doesn't know I had all that carry on with the hospital the week before, and then I had COVID. Thank you for confirming. I had COVID for nearly 2 weeks. I'm just effing sick of it. Absolutely sick of it there. But we're back. We are open again, and we are all operational. Right, okay. Well, tonight, folks, I am not on my own. Just before we start tonight, I have to put out some warnings. I'll do the roll call first on the Chatterhouse, and then I'll explain what we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's see who's in very quickly, because I don't want to leave Domonic in the background too long. So let's see who's through the door. Right. First, don't forget, folks, the rules of the Chatterhouse is if you do not comment, I will not mention your name, because that's the rules, because we're happy enough for you to sit, especially topics like this is coming up tonight, to sit back and relax and listen, because that's what it's all about. But if you want to say hello and you want to be mentioned, put it in the comments. Right. So first through the door tonight was our Sam Davis. Nice to see you, Sam. Mark Patton is in as well. Arlila Jackson. Arlila Jackson is in today. I was talking to Arlila today. She's out doing her groceries. Hello, Stuart. Hello, Lila. Our Sam is in. I said Sam. Nancy Robinson Smith. Our Nancy Pussycat's in. Lovely to see you, Nancy. It's lovely to see you back. Emma Doherty is in. Our Emma. They're all saying they can hear me. AJ Walker, as in AJ Walker Music. I could just say happy birthday to you, because I'm more it's your birthday today. So happy birthday to our AJ. Right, who else is in? Mark Patton saying hello to everybody. Sam said happy 40th birthday to AJ. That's going to go down well. Tracy A. Melville is in. Our Tracy Wee-Wees. She's in as well. Nice to see our Tracy. Good evening. I have you on the big screen. Oh, you mean the big screen's not brilliant? What more do you want? Sam said early tonight, buddy. Well, let's get a clock. Just for time to start. Stephen Lambertson, otherwise known as Stephen the Woody, as by his name. Nancy Robinson Smith is saying happy birthday to our AJ. Mark Patton saying happy birthday to AJ as well. Now, there's no comments on YouTube yet, but I would say there's going to be. If anybody doesn't know, the Chatterhouse, as in Chatterhouse and Stuart Reacts YouTube channel, has grown phenomenally. But a lot of people just come into that just for music reactions and stuff like that. But you never know. You never know who's going to pop in. Right. Okay, I've waffled enough. Right. Now, before we start tonight, folks, I am going to make you aware. Oh, you really want on Saturday, Nancy? Happy birthday for Saturday. Right. I need to make you aware tonight that we are going to be talking about some sensitive issues. Now, obviously, we're not going to go into really the ins and outs and the nitty-gritty and whatever, but I have to just let you know that some of the topics tonight are a little bit sad. Carrie Ferguson's in, my local historian. I didn't see her. Yeah, I see her. It said 81 up there now. It's say Nancy's arguing me. She said 70. Won't say 81 there. Well, Sam, happy 71st birthday. Sorry. Right. So as I say, we are not. She's putting her date of birth up in the comments. Oh, I have my lights on. Hold on. There. That's better. Right. So I don't want to keep Dominic very long here. Right. So as I said, there's going to be some sensitive subjects here tonight. And as I say, we're not going to go into really the details, but I just have to make you aware that some of tonight's story is a wee bit sensitive. So before I bring Dominic on, I just want to make everybody aware that today is the 1st of September. And the 1st of September starts the Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month here. And it runs for the month of September. But as you know, it should be running. It doesn't have to be just for a month. It should be forever. We are going to touch on this as well as we go through on the night. So I'm just letting you know. Stuart, my question last night was seen by someone up in court for fighting for the Hendersons. I thought it was you. No, it wasn't me, dear. No, I didn't see it. Right, so I'm going to bring Dominic on. Now, I'm going to introduce Dominic first. So, Dominic, I came across Dominic on TikTok. He's not only on TikTok, he is also on YouTube as well. I can say YouTube because I'm not on TikTok. And Dominic today helps a lot of people with mental health issues through his experiences. And he runs a podcast, which we're going to talk about as well. And he also today is a life coach, a fully qualified life coach, which we're going to go into more detail about too. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the very beginning. So let's bring Dominic on. So here's our Dominic. Where did I get him here? Hold on. Where do I say? Hello, Dominic. How are you?
Hello, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. And as I said, I was just letting everybody know there about we're not going to go into too much detail, but there is some sensitive subjects. But this is how we raise awareness.
Yep.
Is to bring these subjects up and discuss them and talk about them. Because as you know, there's not enough conversation and discussion and people getting the help that they need for what's going on in their lives. Dominic, isn't that right?
That's absolutely correct. There are too many people suffering in silence. And if we can change that by having these normalized conversations about, sensitive subjects, I think it can only help. It can only be to the benefit of many, many people out there.
Okay, just to let you know, Sam, Nancy, Mark, and all over here, they're all saying hello to you. You're very,
hello,
very
everyone. Welcome.
It's a wee bit sort of difficult when you're over there and you can't see the Facebook comments, but they do come up. So what we're going to do, Dominic, is before we discuss basically what you do now and the work that you do now, let's go. I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to start singing here. Let's go back to the very beginning. So first of all, Dominic, tell everybody where you are from. Whereabouts are you?
Well, I'm in Cardiff in Wales, and I've lived in Cardiff, Wales all my life. And this is my home.
This is your home. Now, let's go back to your younger days. And we were actually talking about, because if anybody doesn't know, when I do these interviews and stuff and podcasts and stuff, we always get a wee bit of background about people, where they came from, whatever. And you actually surprised me a little bit when we had a conversation, because tell us about you when you were younger, your school time around that. What were you like then, Dominic, please?
Well, like as we previously discussed, school for me was really fun times. Because I excelled at certain things. I was good at sport. I was always outgoing, and I had a good friend group, and we all grew up in the same area because the primary school was a local one. So school for me, I always look back at school with fond memories. And some of the best memories I'll ever have because of the people that I met who have been, lifelong friends. So I know a lot of people who have suffered trauma will say, their childhood is the part of it, and school. But for me, school was always fond memories.
That's what puzzled me a little bit, because when I have spoken to other people who have had
Mhm.
different journeys on their journeys and stuff, as you say, a lot of their time, a lot of the problems started around your younger days when they were at school, maybe examples of bullying and things like
Mhm.
that there. But with you, there was nothing like that at all. Everything was absolutely fine.
Yeah, I like I said, the primary school that I attended, and even the high school, everyone knew each other because we were all pretty much from the same areas of Cardiff. So everyone knew each other, and I was always very good at football, and I excelled at sport. But um, you know, the my life changed when I was 8 or 9 years old, and that's when everything sort of
Okay.
manifested into my life.
Now, I'm just going to let you know something here. I'm just going to scoot over this. I'm not going to go into details. And I wouldn't even put Dominic in that situation to go into details. But unfortunately, Dominic, you were the subject of how can I put this, abuse
Yep,
through a
a
family
family
member.
member.
And that's
Yep.
okay. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into what happened or whatever, but this went on for a while, didn't it? This was a
Yep.
continuous thing.
Uh, yeah. It was an ongoing part of my life that uh, is something that's still very uh, emotive for me, still to this day. And it wasn't until that family member got caught out for doing the same thing to his school pupils, that it all came out. What he was doing with me when he was babysitting me. Um, uh, yeah,
So this person was a teacher as well
yeah,
as a
he was
family
just
member.
he was a school teacher at a primary school here in Cardiff, and yeah, he was doing the same things to his students as not all of his students, but some of them, as what he was doing with me.
So, as I say, I'm not going to go into details, but how did it all come to light? When did this all come? How did it all come out, Dominic? How did it all transpire? Was there other people came forward? Was it you
Yeah,
came
no,
forward,
it
or
wasn't me who came forward. It was the some of the class pupils um, that raised concerns about how they were
okay?
treated while they were in school. Um, and that from what I remember, that's when the investigation started, and even more people then started saying, yes, this has happened to me with this teacher. Um, and eventually, then my parents found out that he was obviously um, doing those
With you,
things to me while he
okay.
was looking after us while my parents were in work.
Now, basically, I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to cause any triggers for you. Because I know
Mhm.
this can still cause triggers for you, which we're going to talk about shortly. So, this was someone who was entrusted by your
Yeah,
family. This was a family member, and this
yeah,
was a person who was entrusted as a teacher as well.
yeah.
Unbelievable,
Mm.
unbelievable. So, Dominic, how did this impact you? Afterwards, was it an immediate thing? Was it something that ate away at you, or did it? Have you just as easy gently as you can? Because I say I don't want to cause any
Mhm.
triggers for you.
Mhm. Well, because it was to do with family, and my mum is a devout Catholic, and um, I don't know whether there was any shame that the fact this had happened within the family, but it was something to never be talked about. You go to church, you go to confession, and I never really was allowed to get help So I was told, he's away now, and this is something that we can all move on from. And from the time that it stopped to eventually having the breakdown, all these thoughts and all these what ifs and hows and whys were always there. I was just never really allowed to, when I was a child, to discuss those with a professional.
So basically, then you were denied help.
Yeah.
The family knew, but that was it. It was basically the old-fashioned thing again. You'll be all right. The person's away. You'll get over it. Let's
Mhm.
just move
Yeah,
on.
and
But unfortunately, it wasn't like that, though, was it?
no, my mum and my dad gave me all the love and support that I needed,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I would, looking back, I would still would have thought I would have, some type of therapy, or
Hmm.
you know something along those lines. But back in those days, therapy, psychology, counseling, it wasn't really
No.
that common.
What year we're roughly talking about here, Dominic? Please, around
Um,
roughly
so I would be in the 90s.
the
Yeah.
90s. Okay.
It would have been in late 80s, 90s. So about 92, I would think, because I was it was about 9, and I was born in 83. So yeah, about 9 years old. So there wasn't a lot of awareness. There wasn't a lot of conversation about therapy and counseling, and it was still something that hasn't really been discovered on the NHS in the UK. So but
So basically, this is one of these things. In those days, it was brushed under. It was sort of like brushed under the carpet, and
yeah.
yes, you did get support from your mum and dad, but it was brushed under the carpet,
Hmm.
and you basically had to get on with it. You
Yeah.
really tried, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. Because if you share with me how things progress after that a wee bit, so where do we go after there?
After that, I left high school. Um, Still enjoying high school because I was a keen football player. I tried to suppress everything that I was thinking about, and everything um, that was still fixed in my mind. I threw myself into my work, into my studies, into my football team, and I sort of started growing up then, and having to learn to live alongside what had happened without any real help. And the suppressing and the avoidance worked right the way up until I had the full mental breakdown.
But whilst this was all going on, is this when the self harming started and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
This was all going on.
The self harming has been going on for an extremely long time. Unfortunately, it's a bad habit that I haven't been able to shake. It's become more of a coping mechanism to help ground myself once I've had a nightmare or a flashback. And even working, as soon as I left high school at 16, I went straight into full-time employment. And just I was throwing myself into my job, but just go into the job looking normal, but waiting for my first break where I could go in the toilets and self-harm. And I was self-harming just to get through the day. And my work colleagues and everyone else just saw me, as an employee, just getting on with his job. But inside, I was broken, and every lunch break or break that I had, I would self harm in the toilets just to get through the day.
Mark has said something here. I'm just going to read it out to you, okay?
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
said that, why is it so easy for someone to say move on? It's not that easy for the victim. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. This is back to the abuse and
Yeah.
stuff,
Well,
You
yeah.
will get comments come in now and again. They will
Oh
say
no,
stuff.
I thank him for that comment. I really appreciate it. And look, I've played the cards that I've been dealt. That's what happened. And that's
So,
where,
okay,
yeah, go
the
on.
self-harm, you were self-harming.
Yeah.
You were holding down quite a responsible. Is this when you had the responsible job? You were doing a management job, or was that later
Yeah,
on?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I had a son, I had a relationship, and all of that, got messed up because of a messed up head of mine.
Okay. So, what changed, Dominic? When did we get to the point where things progressed? How did things progress for you?
It progressed extremely quickly in 2022.
Okay.
It was just it's just a normal day in February of 2022. Woke up that day, self-harmed, had a shower, went to work as normal, opened the store, put all the tills on, set the staff up. But then all of a sudden, I don't know, I can't really remember what the trigger was, but something snapped in my head. And I just, you know, left work immediately, put
Pardon
my
me.
keys down, left work, and I was done with life. I wanted my life to be over. I couldn't deal with what was that war inside my head no more. And I decided that I wanted to, end my life. And I left work that morning to end my life. Um, and the mental illness and everything else spiraled from there.
So basically, this was a build up from what happened to you when you were a child. And this sort of like branched out into different feelings. You were getting flashbacks and stuff, and these were all triggers, as we call them now, triggers.
Mhm.
And basically, so more or less, this stuff was haunting you. This was haunting you, and it was
Mhm.
affecting your daily life. And we just said today, the most interesting thing about it is the people who I have spoke to and myself, when people suffer from mental illness or mental whatever, we all seem to have really, really responsible jobs and seem to have a bit, I'm not saying, but I think it's important to mention because we're not just like standing in a wee shop in the corner hiding. We've got really, really responsible jobs. And for some reason, most of the time we seem to manage to keep these jobs down.
Mhm.
Is that a coping mechanism, do you think, as
It
well?
is. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you use to mask what you're actually feeling. So your job
Mm-hmm.
becomes the reason why you don't have to deal with any feelings. I'm in work. I can't. I haven't got time to think about this. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes part of your routine to cope with what's going on in your mind. And I, 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 tr- I'm my own worst enemy with that. I'd done it for years until I finally snapped. And eventually, your mind will stop you in your tracks, and it will ask you to deal with the things that you haven't dealt with in the past.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go to that day. Let's go to
Mhm.
that day. Again, we're not going to go into two because again, I don't want to start any triggers. So you went to work. You said yourself you had self-harmed. You went to work, and that was the day that you decided that you
Mhm.
couldn't carry on anymore.
Mhm. Yep,
So
that was
did you leave work then?
yeah.
If you sort of give us it.
I snapped in work. Threw my keys on the desk. Said I won't be back. Um, didn't tell them what I was going to do, but on my way home, then I said, right, you know, enough's enough. I don't need this life anymore. I don't need this pain anymore. I don't need this darkness anymore. I'm going to end my life, and I tried, but I wasn't successful.
No. Um, were you fined, or were you
No,
actually able to stop yourself before you actually got
the
to the stage
no, no,
of
yeah, the weird thing is after I'd accepted and I knew what I was going to do, and
yes?
I was very intentional with it. For some reason, I texted one of my brothers and I said, "This is what I'm going to do,"
Okay,
um, and he got in touch with with my mum, who managed to get to me in time before anything more than the cutting happened.
okay. So were you in hospital at this? Were you taken into hospital or anything at this
Yeah,
stage? Or
for
yeah,
the for the initial
okay.
stuff, yeah.
And were
And
you offered any help in hospital then? Were
yeah,
you offered any help?
they did send a psychologist around, or someone from that team. They talked to me for a while and then discharged me. Um, Cleaned my wounds, and sent me on my way.
It's unbelievable. Really unbelievable.
I would have thought I was gonna, I would have at least been sectioned under the Mental Health Act, but no, I was patched up, spoken to for a little bit, and then discharged.
Unbelievable. Emma says, Dominic, you have a life ahead of you, and God spared your life for a reason. You know.
I absolutely agree.
Hmm.
I'm here today because it wasn't my time. But
No,
unfortunately, what I did to myself, I can never take away from my mind.
no, no, no.
It's ingrained in there now what I've done to myself, and that goes back to the nightmares and the flashbacks, and they're predominantly about my suicide attempts, but there are others about my uncle and stuff like that as well.
Okay. And as I say, which we're going to talk about in the future as we're coming up here, um, we can use those experiences as positives now to help others, to
Absolutely.
share what you had been through, to share where you have been, to share where you are now, which we're going to talk about very shortly.
Hmm.
We can use those, even though at that time they were the most darkest times that we ever imagined.
Hmm.
But now, today, we can use those to help others and use them as a positive. And it might sound strange to some
No,
people,
no,
but
no.
we
Yeah,
can use it for something.
in every walk of life, your experiences will shape the person. So, they it's funny when you accept that you want your life to be over, trying to come back from that is has been extremely difficult. And if I didn't have the help and support that I had, and it took a charity to give me the help first, mine's
Okay.
the mental health charity.
Yes.
That's where I was offered crisis intervention therapy, because the hospital didn't give me anything. Um, so if I didn't have those people, I wouldn't be here today.
I have a
Um,
wee question I want to slot in here.
yeah.
I normally do questions at the end, but Karen Avey has just commented here. Karen's over in Canada, and Karen has commented here, Dominic, do you think you told your brother about your intention, hoping that he would interfere with your plan? When you were sort of in that situation.
Yeah, I understand the question. I'm still, it took me a long time to try to understand why I did that. But I think I wanted to tell a family member before, it was all over. I had to tell someone what I was going to do. Um, and yeah, I'm lucky that he reacted quickly. There may be some divine intervention where I thought to myself, I am gonna do this, but hopefully, if my brother gets this in time, he might save me. Um, but
Somebody says shards. Yeah, go ahead.
I
Sorry,
was
go ahead.
I was dead set on doing that, and I tried. I had a big kitchen knife in hand, and on my hands when my mum walked in. So um, yeah, for me, that text, however it came about, saved my life.
I have something to say here. I knew this was going to turn into a really powerful night here. And just before I go on to the next thing here, Karen's actually saying, oh, thank you, Dominic. And that's for answering that. Okay. Stephen Lambert said, no, first of all, Emma says, Dominic, you have a life ahead of you. God spare your life. You've done that one. Stephen says, this is totally heartbreaking. I'm still suffering this day from a mental abuse from an ex-partner who was cheating on me while I was working. But I walked away from it with my daughter, as her mum didn't want her, but only came back because I found my partner. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And Emma says you could also use what's happened to you today then as your strength today.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting comments coming there. So
Mm.
Dominic, when do we move to the next stage where that there was different things diagnosed, and how did we lead up to that, where diagnosis of certain
So
things came
so
in
after the
place?
after the after the initial crisis intervention therapy, mine gave me I think it was 10 sessions for free.
Okay.
Or then I could pay for privately. I could pay to have it continue. But at that time, I'd been to the GP and asked to be referred to the community mental health team, which he did. And I was referred to the community mental health team for an assessment.
Okay, I'm sure that was interesting. I'm not
No,
being rude, but my
as we
experience is
as we
not great.
talked, as we I've had a conversation with you about it. My first initial NHS mental health assessment was shocking. And the way they treated me, it was just like I was a criminal being interviewed by the police. I was, there was a psychologist there and a male nurse. Yeah, I was, crying and telling them everything, that had been happening, and what I was thinking about myself and what I was doing to myself. And um, they pretty much asked all their questions, um, and then um, said they would be in touch. A couple of days later, I got a letter from them to say, "You're just suffering from a bit of sadness, and
Unbelievable.
normal depression, for about certain things that have happened in your life. That I didn't meet the criteria for mental health support or therapy."
Okay, now I'm not saying anything in anybody's defense or anything here, but I'm about to make everybody aware that we are still back in time here a wee bit, and
Yeah,
obviously, hopefully, things have changed a lot since then. So then, where do we move then to when we got diagnosed with certain things, which
yeah. So
which we're going to talk about?
obviously the failed assessment, where they refused me help, which forced the second attempt, on my life in the May. Um, Eventually got me a second assessment, and that's when they decided to give me the help. And then I was diagnosed then from there, after a full assessment by the trauma team. That's when I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I was also diagnosed with ADHD, and anxiety disorder, and clinical depression.
But yet you only had normal depression the first time round.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
you know what my feeling is about that word normal, because we had a discussion about that.
yeah.
I think that word should be taken away from the dictionary anyway, because I don't believe that word ever exists anymore. But what I want to say is, I'm going to ask you to explain something in a minute, but if something else I
Yeah.
want to read out here. Uh, Johnny Cahoon, now that's my nephew, just to let you know. Johnny says, I can relate to the NHS didn't help me at all when I was bad with mental health. I felt ashamed
Mhm.
of asking for help. And in the end, I had to pay to go private before I got any help at all. And Mark says, this puts everything into perspective. I fully understand how serious mental health is. I have mental health issues myself, not due to abuse now. He says, but I just feel not good enough. Um, Hold on a minute, I just knocked that off there. Sorry, just hold on. Sorry, I've just knocked the comments off there. Uh, I just don't feel good enough. And I admit I have recently had some bad thoughts
Mhm.
that I'm not ashamed to say. I'm 47. He's a 47-year-old disabled guy. And Stephen says here, I like to read these out because this is what it's
Yep.
all about. As you know,
Yep.
my father, I was the last person to see him alive. He dropped me at my granny's back door, hugged me, and kissed me. Got his index finger and said, even though we aren't together, we will always be. Uh, we will always have, even though we are together, we will always be a family in there. And thumped his finger on my temple. The next morning, my mum came and told my dad had passed away. Little did I know that he had a plan. It was his way of saying goodbye. Um, but Dominic, this seems to be happening a lot, and I don't want to take away from your story here because I want to go further with this, but this seems to be happening to a lot of people when they are going for help. with the NHS, you know, they just don't seem to be listened to, or they're not getting the help that they need.
Yeah.
You know, I thought in this day and age we were more aware of what's going on, aware of the situation, and it just doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. We all know the mental health services in crisis, the NHS is in crisis,
Yeah.
but these people are supposed to be trained experts and whatever, and we just don't seem to be getting anywhere at all.
And I think that is a problem in itself, because the psychologists that do these assessments, they don't treat people as a human being. They treat people as what they could have via a textbook. So they ask you certain questions. You tick all these boxes, or you don't tick these boxes, or no, you don't meet the criteria for help. But they don't see the individual, and they don't understand what the individual might be going through. And for me, as a man, telling these people, about my uncle, telling them about the suicide attempts, telling them about the self-harming, and the thoughts of that I'm not worthy, that I don't want to continue, that my life is not worth living. That takes a lot for a man to say to two strangers. And I poured my heart out in that first assessment, and the way I was treated was shocking. And I documented that day. I documented that video and that letter on my YouTube channel, because I was disgusted with the way they treated me.
Johnny Goon has said here, I had 10 sessions at £110 a session, so a lot of money I had to pay, but I just couldn't afford to keep it going. And this is happening a lot, Dominic, isn't it? This is happening a lot. People are having to go private, but they don't have the money. They don't have the money. And these are people's lives we're dealing with here,
Yeah. But they just see people as a name on a sheet. They don't understand, what they might be going through. And mental health support, or mental health help in general. The NHS is in crisis, but all you'll get your appointment, they'll see you, and then they'll tell you you're on a waiting list. Then you've got to wait. That's why I had to go get my own therapy then at that point. Yes, I'm on the waiting lists now. Great, I've got my diagnosis, but I still need help and support. So that's where I had to go out and find my own therapist and counselor privately.
So here, I'm going to read this out very quickly, and then I'm going to ask you another question here. Now, this is desperate. These are the suicide rates of 2024. Now, I can't do 2025 because they're not being released until November. But in 2024 in England, in Northern Ireland, in 2024, there was 290 suicides. England, 5,717, Wales, 440. Out of 100,000 people, 17 were male. Out of 100,000 people, 5 were female. And I just seen another statistic there that every 90 minutes, a young male person, I'm not leaving the ladies out here, folks, I'm not being rude now, but every 90 minutes, a young man takes their life.
Yep.
It's
I done a video
unbelievable.
on that very topic of that's someone's brother, that's someone's father, that's someone's family member.
Was that the video? Was that the video? Was that the video when you were standing outside? Did you do that video outside? Or was that the one with the seagull? Was that the one with the seagulls?
Yes, the one with the seagulls. Yeah.
Well, do you know something? Well, we'll have a look at that because I have it here. Let's have a wee look at this.
Okay.
Let's have a wee look.
No worries.
Every 90 minutes, a man takes his own life. That's someone's father, someone's brother, or someone's best friend. Gone. And the most shocking part, most of them never asked for help. You are not alone. You are not alone in this suffering. Your mental health matters. You matter. The world is a better place with you in it. Suicide doesn't take the pain away. It just gives the pain to someone else. You are strong enough to live this life that you've been given. You are valued, you are loved, and you are cherished. So please remember that. And don't suffer in silence. You are not alone. Reach out and ask for help, because there's plenty of help out there, and you're worth it.
Unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. I have a load of comments here to read to you here. Sam Davidson says, I was told by a male nurse in the Royal Hospital, which is here in Northern Ireland, that it didn't. What was this? I was told by a male nurse that it didn't happen. I dreamt it all up in my head. I had a nervous breakdown over it. I was reliving my nightmare every night. Couldn't sleep, only slept when the sun came up. Carrie Ferguson says, 10 years plus on a waiting list for counselling and still waiting. Ended up reading lots of books and listening to self-help stuff because private sessions are too expensive to maintain. And I'll come back to Stephen in a wee minute because he's asked you a question. Johnny says, and the worst thing is all the NHS just give me tablets to help. In my opinion, what's a tablet going to do? Going to help when I refuse them? Now, Stephen said to me, question for Domonic, right? Do you think antidepressant tablets are just to mask the issue, or is it a way of addressing the issue?
No, in my own, I can only speak from my own personal experience with antidepressants.
Yes.
They're just to me, they're just a tick box exercise of the GP to say that they've done something for that person who says they're suffering with depression. I've been on antidepressants for ever since the breakdown, and ever since the initial crisis therapy, and then seeing the GP. And I've asked to come off them, but they won't take me off them. But I just think the antidepressants, they just mask what the true problem is, and the true problem is something that an antidepressant can help you with.
Emma Doherty says mental health team is a shame and disgrace. I'm sorry. I lost a friend to suicide after she begged for help and didn't get it. Hi, Maria. Nice to see you. Could you say something now? One question I want to ask you now, Domonic, because I asked you this today, but I'm doing this for everybody else. Steve says, thank you very much for answering that. What's the difference between CPTSD and PTSD, please? Just so people know the differences.
Okay,
please.
So PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, generally focuses on a singular event that's happened in your life. So you'll see a lot of veterans, a lot of military people who suffer with PTSD because they've been to war. So you generally have nightmares and flashbacks based around one certain event in your life. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is what I was diagnosed with, is when you have nightmares and flashbacks about multiple different types of traumas. So your nightmares and flashbacks are never the same. They change from trauma to trauma, and it could be, you don't know what you're going to face each night. But complex PTSD is when there's more than one traumatic event, and PTSD tends to focus on one singular event.
Okay. I'm actually just reading the comment. It's just a pity you couldn't see these. They are flying here. Carrie's answering Emma there, saying they really are a shame and disgrace. I know someone who asked for help over and over again, but on the edge, attempted and still waiting for help. It scares me that one day I will find that person gone. Nancy Robinson Smith says 10 years on a waiting list for counselling and still waiting. Ended up just reading lots of books. Oh, I think I read that out. Listen, and self-help stuff because Brighton's, I did read that one out. Johnny says, I totally agree with that. It's a joke that a wee tablet is going to help generally, as you say, Mark says, in answer to Stephen's questions, I believe that it's easy for Dr. Putin to put your antidepressants to mask. I believe doctors rather than cure. If they want to medicate it because it makes them money, uh, but it's people's mental health that they are playing with. We're getting controversial, but you know what it is, Dominic. It's frustration with people because the help is not there. They're not getting the service, not just the help, but the services these people need. We're not getting it, you know?
It's exactly that. A lot of people are frustrated with the fact that they they know, and it takes a lot. It takes someone a long time to accept they need help, especially men.
Absolutely.
They that acceptance is so hard to come by. But once you finally get the acceptance and ask for help, you pour yourself, you put yourself out there into vulnerable positions, and then these people who can deliver you the help are just giving you tick box exercises or giving you drugs that they're being paid money to push for different pharmaceutical companies, just to get you on antidepressants. It's challenging to get help these days, and I've learned through counseling and therapy that if you want to do something positive in the world, you, instead of talking about change, you have to try and make that change.
Yeah, I was agreeing there, saying exactly correct. Mark, tablets are the answer to the doctors. It just seemed that's what the hand out tablets. And Carrie's replying to Nancy about the, self-help books and therapy. She's saying because there's minimal support for addiction either, and usually
Mm-hmm.
mental health issues. And we have said this, usually mental health issues and addiction go together.
Absolutely,
I've
they
experienced.
go hand in hand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, Dominic, what is life like today for you? Where are we now? Where are you now? What's your mindset? How are you today?
Well, after being in private therapy for the last 4 years and counseling, and I don't associate myself with the person that I was in 2022. That year, and that person that died, and I am someone else that's been reborn. I don't associate myself with that Dom of 2022 because I don't recognize him today. I understand, everything that he's been through, but I'm learning to live alongside those things. And I try every day just to do something that day to make tomorrow a better day. And I'm still in counseling, I'm still in therapy, I'm still on the waiting lists for very specific treatment for trauma. It's called EMDR treatment. Waiting lists are huge in the UK. But whilst I've been on those waiting lists, and whilst I've been in therapy, I've developed a purpose for wanting to help people, and that's why I changed my whole career direction and didn't go back to what I used to do. And through one of my sessions with my therapist, a new idea was born for me
Okay.
to move forward.
And that's what I'm going to talk about now. But very quickly, Eleanor Hinks, just to slot in here. Stephen Lumpert said something very, very important here, and I think this is right. Now, I know other people who's been through different aspects of abuse, okay? And he's actually saying here, I am saying sorry randomly. It's down to the abuse that I suffered. If I want to start a conversation, if he wants to start a conversation, it's as if it's his fault, or I'm sorry, and his partner is always asking me why, and I can't explain. So basically, he's always apologizing, you know?
Yeah, because we feel like it's our fault. And that's what trauma victims do. We blame ourselves. We carry a heavy burden. And our mind makes us think that these things are our fault. And those negative and intrusive thoughts can be extremely powerful. And it does take, and it does and will take a long time for you to learn to manage those intrusive thoughts. Because what I will always say to everyone who is suffering with intrusive or negative thoughts is that they are indeed that. They're thoughts. They're not facts.
Mm-hmm.
They're not happening right now. They're not happening today. It's not a fact. those thoughts are just telling you these things. It's not a fact. So thoughts are not facts. To have that sort of distinction is very important.
Yeah. Johnny Goon says, well, the first question I got asked by a doctor is, do you drink? Do you take drugs? I asked,
Yeah.
why would that be the first questions I get asked? And the reply was 9 out of 10 times, that's the patients that I see. And Carrie says back to Stephen there, it's an abuse response when you've been abused, as you've just said, Dominic. You
Yeah.
say sorry to minimize the abuse, but take the spotlight off you. You feel at fault and you try not to be the burden on others, but you're not. And Mark says, I also believe if you treat the person more than the illness, I think it will have more of a curing effect than medication if you treat the person 1st. Let me see here. Emma saying to Stephen, I'm very much like you, saying sorry to everyone for something I have no need to say sorry for. That's down to my DV trauma from before. And Stephen says that's a great insight and again embarrassing to talk about. That's why I have this group, Dominic. It's called the Chatterhouse, for people to talk and communicate. And even if we're talking about something silly, if they're talking in the comments, that's what it's all about, because people are communicating. Because as you know, communication is dying and people are not talking the same as they used to, especially after COVID and stuff. So you are now doing life coaching.
Yeah.
Yes. So what's now? People probably heard life coaching. I know I'm just repeating basically what I asked you today, but these people don't know that. Right. What is a life coach and what is the difference between life coaching and counseling, please, Dominic? And how did you
Well,
obviously you are qualified life coach, you just haven't
yeah,
decided this is something you're going to do. You have diplomas and stuff. So tell us all about
of
that.
course, yeah. So counseling is tends to focus on a very specific mental illness or something to do with your past that you haven't dealt with, that that you have some form of trauma. So a counselor can help you with those sort of things. A life coach is someone who helps you find purpose, helps you find clarity, helps you find perspective,
Yes.
and is
Yes.
someone that can help you find the correct path for you to go down to find the best version of yourself. Whilst therapy and counseling can help you learn to live alongside your mental illness, life coaching can do the other half of it and help you plan for the future. And it can be such an empowering relationship between coach and client, because seeing someone and just being a part of someone's journey on their self on the road to self-discovery is so empowering.
So you're now doing the life coaching, which I did say that you actually went and done training, and you've got
Yeah.
diplomas and stuff, so you are qualified to do this.
Yeah, I've got 6 diplomas, ranging from spiritual life coaching to advanced life coaching to ADHD coaching to career coaching.
Spiritual life
So yeah,
coaching as well. I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah. I got a diploma in spiritual life coaching. I'm looking at them all there. They're on my wall by year. And diploma in life purpose coaching as well. So yeah, I worked hard through over the last 4 years as well. I haven't just been wallowing in self-pity, even though I have
No.
at times, because I have my bad days, because I still have the mental illness, but I try not to let it define my future. And I never thought I would be capable of getting these diplomas, but I was and it was massively enlightening to me to say, yeah, you can do this. So it gave me purpose, it gave me clarity, and it gave me perspective. And I used those 3 words as a mantra in my life, and I manifest those 3 things into my life.
And you also have your TikTok profile. First of all, I'm going to talk about where you make videos and stuff, and you give people encouragement to share how they're feeling, and it's all about mental health and the journey of mental health. And also, you have a couple of YouTube channels as well. You've got the Quiet Battle podcast channel, which I actually did a podcast with you on myself, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. So basically, you have buried your life now into spreading that message, helping others where you can, and making people as aware of their mental health as best you can. Because a lot of people do suffer in silence, and a lot of people, Dominic, don't even know what's wrong with them.
No,
You know?
and I have 3 YouTube channels. Pieces of a Broken Mind is the one that's documented my whole mental health journey from the breakdown to where we are today. And I that channel is about raising awareness, challenging stigma and discrimination. The Quiet Battle podcast is a podcast where I wanted to give back to my subscribers and followers. I invite them onto the podcast to share their story, and I give them a platform, and we talk about their story. And then you've got my life coaching one, which is obviously just launched, and that they're going to be like motivational and inspirational videos about purpose, clarity, and perspective, and everything that a life coach does. And I have a website as well, and people can read the website and read the story, see my diplomas. It's all on there.
Okay, folks, people on Facebook, I will put all the links to Dominic's YouTube. You're as bad as people on these YouTube channels. All your YouTube. But if you go to YouTube now, to the Chatterhouse's YouTube channel, and go to the playback of this video tonight, all the links are actually there and all. And somebody had asked where can we see the podcast. It's the at Quiet Battle podcast. That's on YouTube. But if you
And
wanted
Spotify.
to get those,
you can listen to it on Spotify. Yeah.
And Spotify as well.
Yeah.
Just to let you know as well, folks, as I say, this video that's being recorded, this is actually a live, but it stays on YouTube as a video. If you go to the live section of the Chatterhouse's YouTube channel, you'll see the recording of tonight. And you go into the description, all the links are there. But I'll put them in the Chatterhouse group as well. So, Dominic, before we go, what's life like today for you? How are you compared to then, and what are you like today? And is there anything you would like to do or achieve that you haven't achieved yet?
Life is it's been very much the same for me the last few years. I have to live with these nightmares and flashbacks about these different things every single night, and they're massively challenging, both emotionally, mentally, sometimes physically as well, because sometimes you're frozen, you're awake, but your body's frozen and won't move, and it's extremely challenging. But through therapy, counseling, and through having being a dad, and through having a good mum, and having a partner that I love very much, who's been with me through everything, from the from the breakdown to today. They've given me purpose, and now I use that purpose to better my life, and I decided to do that through life coaching. And every day that I wake up, I count as a blessing. Every day that I wake up, I count as a chance to change my life. It's all about perspective for me now. It's about how I look at these things.
Completely different. Completely. Can I just interrupt you? They're completely different perspective from the days when we didn't want to be here. It's a big change. Big change.
That person who felt like that, I don't associate myself with anymore, because now I have certain things that give me purpose to battle the intrusive and negative thoughts and the complex post-traumatic stress disorder, the ADHD. The ADHD it is challenging, but it's also a source of great creativity because your mind is always hyperactive. So I think it all comes down to having purpose, and the purpose can help you and drive you on, even though you've got this going on in the background and in your mind. If you're looking at things in a positive way and you see things as challenges instead of problems, you can overcome those problems with purpose, clarity, and perspective. And you know, I'm the cheapest life coach, I think, in the UK probably. You know, the when I was doing the research on the industry itself, you know, life coaches earn from anything from £80 up to £120 an hour. I only charge £50 an hour for my life coaching, so I'm affordable, and I wanted to be affordable because I've been at rock bottom. And like what someone said in your comments, just a while back, they mentioned the fact that you know, doctors treat people as a diagnosis, not as a human being. My coaching is grounded in lived experience with mental health, so I've been there, I've survived it,
Yeah.
um, and I'm surviving it, and I'm continue to survive in it. So I've done it, and so I can relate to my clients a lot more. And they can see that my journey is on YouTube. They can see me at my worst. They can see me at rock bottom, but they can also see me become a life coach and a mental health advocate and someone who gives other people a platform on YouTube and Spotify to share their story as well.
Can I just say something? I don't want to be patronizing or anything, but you should be very, and you, as you said to me that then when I did the podcast, you should be very proud of yourself to be where you've been today. And I just want to read a couple more comments before we finish, because it is important, I think. Emma's talking about, I knew I was wrong, what was going on. I think this is a fear of not going out, not having the strength to walk is so hard to explain. See, compared to 4 years ago, 4 years ago until now, what a different person I am. I still haven't seen or spoke to any professional because I feel if I do, I will go back to that dark place again. But I feel as if it's holding me back, if you get me. And Carrie Ferguson says, totally agree. It's all about perspective. It does not, it does take work and it isn't easy, but changing your perspective and outlook really does make a difference to how you interact with life. And Emma says, Dominic, you are truly an inspiration. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I wish you all the best and happiness. Sam says, thank you, Dominic, for the subject. And Mark says, yes, thank you, Dominic, for sharing. But Dominic, I just want to say something to you because I'm going to show another wee quick video before we finish, right? Even though we are doing better, I've had my journey with addiction and stuff, which you know about because we've discussed this, you know. And sorry, Stephen says, Dominic, you're a true inspiration, and listening to you is amazing. And also, as well, Dominic, you've been through your journey. And I want to say this, even though we are in a better place, we are doing better. And you agreed with me with this. I don't think we'll ever be the same again.
No.
To where we used to be.
We'll never be the same again, but that's okay.
No. Yep.
You know, I used to think it wasn't okay, you know, that you might lose a piece of yourself, but you'll also gain a new piece of yourself. So it's okay. You can't go into a storm and then expect to come out the same afterwards. So it's okay to not be the same person again, and it's always okay to reinvent yourself. And I use my trauma and my experiences to make me a better life coach. And that's why the clients I help all come to me, because they know that I've had mental illness and I have it, and I've been diagnosed with it, and they can see that because it's all documented on the website and documented on YouTube. So they can relate to me, and I can relate to them. I don't see them as just a diagnosis, or you know,
or a box.
You know, I see, or a box to tick. I see them for who they are, and I can understand those dark moments because I've been there. And that's why I think my style of coaching, and why I'm so affordable will be really helpful for people who are waiting for help in the UK.
Carrie says, thank you, Dominic. This is a topic that we really need to talk about. And you have done it in such a wonderful, sensitive way. Please take care of yourself and keep building on your achievements and success. Wishing you so much happiness and love. And Emma Dockery says, sometimes we have to lose. This is a great one. Sometimes we have to, I'm going to start crying. I don't know why. Sometimes we have to lose a piece of ourselves to gain the better version, and that's okay.
Absolutely. I think you have to suffer. You have to suffer the worst days of your life in order to earn the best days of your life. And the worst days of my life are giving me purpose and helping other people now, because I'm talking about my story. I'm sharing my mental illness. The ins and outs of the things with of the trauma I'm still dealing with in therapy, but more broadly the subject about suicide prevention, trauma, mental health, that's something that I can talk about, and I can let people know that these conversations are happening on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be. Real people with real stories, with real diagnosis. And people can relate to realism and authenticity, and I think that's what these type of conversations can bring.
And yourself, social media gets a really bad press for good reasons, because it does. But what I have noticed since, yes, I've had a tough on social media and things. I think we all have had at one time. But there's another flip of the coin too. I myself have met so many inspirational, amazing people who are out looking out for others and doing things for others and being there for others and sharing their experiences. So it does have its good sides as well. It's just two more comments and then we're going to go. Carrie says to Emma there, when Emma says sometimes we have to lose a piece of ourselves to gain a better version, Carrie says, is our Dolly saying, if you want the rainbow, you need to endure the pain. And Nancy Robinson Smith says, Dominic, you're the perfect man doing the job you do. God bless you and your family.
I thank you to everyone for all their kind words on this video tonight, and I hope some of what I've said might help others find help and support. But every nice comment and every comment has again filled me with more purpose to continue making these videos and having these conversations.
And that's the thing about the Chatterhouse, because the Chatterhouse is an interactive group. It's great to get people talking along with us whilst we're doing this. It's not just you and I, they're here and they're getting involved as well, Dominic, and that's what it's all about. I wish more people would do this,
Absolutely.
Good night, Sam. Okay, folks, so what we're going to do is I'm going to leave you one final little, we're not going to come back now, so I'm going to leave you, I'm going to show you our Michael first, and then I'm going to leave you with another video, another little video that Dominic made, and then we'll be away. Carrie says we're not saying that we'll smoke up your backside. We're not. Carrie says she's talking about us. She says we're not saying that the blue smoke up your backside. We're not that type of people. We mean what we say here. And Emma says keep going, Dominic. You're amazing. And Mark says, as a quote in a film, if you treat the illness, you win. You lose, but if you treat the person, I guarantee you win every time. Because I mentioned Michael's my like a subscribed person. Stephen Upper says my toy boy. Sam Davis says good night, everybody. So what we're going to do is listen, Dominic. Thank you so much for doing this.
No worries. You're very welcome.
It was incredible, and the feedback has been brilliant here, and the conversation has been amazing as well. So what we're going to do is going to pass you over to our Michael here, and then I'm going to play you one final video of Dominic's. So I'm going to say good night. And Domonic, once again, thanks so much for doing this. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Welcome to the Chatterhouse. We're so glad you're here. We're available on Facebook and also our YouTube channel at Chatterhouse55. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe.
I wanted to die, and I need you to hear this. Suicide prevention is a conversation we all need to have. It's not a conversation we can shy away from anymore. I'm speaking from experience. I tried to end my life twice in 2022. So I know how you're feeling. I know how suicidal people are feeling. I've been there. I still go there sometimes. I battle every single day to be here. I fight every single day with my mind to stay here, to try and help people, to try and support people, to try and let people know that they're not alone in this battle against suicidal thoughts. Because I've been there. I'm with you. It's a conversation we cannot avoid, and it's a conversation we cannot shy away from anymore. It needs to be had. Let's save lives through conversation regarding suicide.